When we commissioned the Gallup organization to create a citizens' agenda for Arizona, the thing that intrigued us most was what we would learn. The thing that bothered us most was whether anything would happen with it. To have a picture as complete as it provided, to be able to see things and activities that pulled together could make this the state for the future that we know Arizonans want, was so clear, but we weren't sure we could give it traction. For today, the National Bank of Arizona, Freeport-McMoran, Phoenix Philanthropy Group, thank you for making the Arizona we want your agenda for the day. That's an example of how we believe it can be done. But for all of us, I want to quote something that Jim Collins said at this event a year ago. Keith Mayo just reinforced it in his comments. We ask every one of you to choose one of these goals, and do something about it. We invite you to let us know which you've chosen, and we'll make sure you're in contact with others who are working in the space. But choose one and make it happen. Let me give you an example of what that might mean. The education goal has two very specific citizen characteristics that they want. Graduate our students from high school, college, and/or career ready. That sounds pretty sensible, doesn't it? 50% of the students graduating from high school in Arizona today are not eligible for admission at any one of the three public universities. So citizens are saying, raise the bar and do something about it. Secondly, citizens say, measure our students' achievement by national and international standards. That's not what we currently do. The Ames exam is a 10th grade exam, and it appears to me it's been watered down a bit over the years. We don't advocate any specific way of getting there. You're the ones that have to do that. You and Arizonans all over who want to get involved with us. But that's the bar we want to be moving toward. And the same is true for the other goals. In addition to education, job creation, access to health care, infrastructure, environment and water management, those five are what we believe are leader-led goals, but you've got to be the ones that tell the leaders what you think they should do with those. And three goals that are kind of citizen-led goals directly, keeping our talented youth. You heard what Kimber just had to say about these high school students who are not even at this stage planning to stay in Arizona. And the other two are civic engagement, being active in public issues, registering, voting, being a part of that, and community involvement. So that's the first issue that I would suggest to you in making your commitment to make the Arizona we want work. Next slide, please. Here are three ways I would suggest, as you make your commitment, you can do something about it. Go in and take the Gallup Arizona poll. It's online right now. You can take it. 10,000 Arizonans, since Gallup did its work, have taken it. We'd like another 10,000. We'd like to know where people are today as it relates to what we've known. Secondly, encourage organizations that you belong to do it. If you'll get a minimum of 25 people so that we protect anonymity, your organization can discover what your members think and how their views compare with those of Arizonans. And third, particularly think about creating a project we call 2.0 in action. As you can see, the example we had on the is called the Arizona We Want 2.0. Here's an example of taking the Arizona We Want goals and putting them in a context for an individual community that Tempe has done. Other cities around the state are beginning to do that now, and it makes, in a sense, a capacity for that local community to see these are things that can involve them. Kimber just pointed to Copper Point Mutual. They've done it in their own company. So has National Bank of Arizona. So has Freeport McMoran. So has Phoenix Philanthropic Group. Think about doing it in your own organization. Next slide, please. And here's an example of what you'll find. You'll find that on education, where the goals I mentioned a moment ago about what you've actually been doing in your own organization or in your own community, and it gives you an opportunity to say the next steps that you would like to do. That's the action item that I hope will come out of this event, and the one to which I encourage your activity most. We like to keep bringing fresh information to the discussion. We think data-based information is the only way we're ever going to make this all happen. So I'd like to introduce 2 additional items for you to think about today as we go forward from this meeting. Next slide, please. Here is a map of America with a focus on native-born individuals in every state. If you can't read it, for Arizona, it's 38% in 2012. For Nevada, one of only 2 states that have fewer native-borns than we, it's 25%. The only other that's below Arizona is Florida at 36%. So here we are today with one of the smallest fractions of our population, barely over a third, that are native-born. And you'll see also on this slide, next slide please, where basically people come from. So Illinois is blue, actually it's the Midwest. The kind of red is the East Coast. Gold is the western states. And the gray is those from outside the US, 15% of Arizona's population. But let me show you something that we find extraordinarily important as we think about who we are and as we try to tell the kind of story that Kimber has suggested to us. Next slide, please. So there we are in 2012. Next slide, please. There we were in 1950, 38%, still the same. Next slide, please. There we are when we were a territory in 1900. A barely perceptible change in the fraction of our population that have been born here, with 2/3 or more coming from elsewhere. By the way, look at 1900 as well. The number of Arizonans who came from outside the United States then was 25%. So a long, significant tradition in who we are. What this information tells us is that we are a state of constantly arriving new people. 112 years, look at this. And that we need to think of that as we understand who we are and what we do. We need to understand some of the implications for people's ability to have established habits of connecting and being engaged. And we need to own it. We need to recognize the talent it brings. We need to recognize the opportunity it brings. But we need to make it a part of our way of thinking. Next slide, please. Here's a little sketch of what's involved. The top red line are Arizonans. This gray line are people coming from outside the United States. And this covers the entire period of time from 1900 to today. But look at the impact to show you how it kind of has some variability of the Dust Bowl and of the Depression. these are citizens coming from the South, which includes Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma. But even with all of that movement, and here's the West in the gold, even with all of that movement, we still have remained substantially a state of newcomers. And the more we reckon with that, the more we incorporate that, the more we make it a part of who we are, the better it's going to be. Next slide, please. And here, to me, is the most stunning thing of all. Gallup in 2013 did a survey of Americans on 5 categories: conservative, very conservative, moderate, liberal, very liberal. And then they gave each state's representation on the map. Will you look at what is an almost perfect mirror image of Arizonans to that national map? How many of you in this room think our political system represents that? How many of you in this room understand that unless and until we connect to communities more fully, that we're not going to be able to create the Arizona we want? We learned 2 major things when we did the original Gallup poll. Arizonans love here. They love it. They're passionate about and loyal to it, but they're very poorly connected to it, in the bottom quintile. Secondly, we learned Arizonans agree on more than they disagree, but only 10% think their elected officials even represent their interests. This, in our view, is the key to solving that issue. It won't be easy, but the closer we can bring our political system and our engagement in our communities to who we are in terms of individuals and view, the more likely it is we're going to have the Arizona we want. Final slide. Here's our website. We would love to have you come in and join us, take the poll, tell us what you want, but please join us in the Arizona we want. Steve?
Thank you, Lattie. I look out at the room and I look at all of you and I say, wow, you have an amazing capacity to listen and to learn. You've been sitting here all day, and the good news is that I'm only going to take a couple of minutes. And I have no deck, so you'll be thrilled. And I think I just saw Fred Duval tweeting that he's anxiously awaiting his interview with Bram. If any of you have been interviewed by Bram, you usually are not anxiously anticipating it. You are anxiously worrying about what hard question he's going to ask. My job is to try to sum up the day and give us a challenge for moving forward. And those of you who remember last year, and I've been part of this for 3 years, and I thank the National Bank of Arizona and Freeport McMoran and Phoenix Philanthropy for including me. But it is my job here today to kind of be on the balcony and look at the dance floor and listen to the themes and to the individuals that participated and try to make sense of what we heard. And I cannot escape what I do. You heard from Jackie Alling about what I am fortunate enough to be part of, the Arizona Community Foundation, and community is our middle name. And when you lead a philanthropy, you are responsible for asking the tough questions. We are nonpartisan. We take no political positions. We're here to invest in the community for the betterment of the community. And if not philanthropy to ask the hard questions, then who? So as leaders, our job is to confront hard questions. Confront, as I said last year, brutal facts. And also to take action for improvement and to seek greatness. Really, to seek greatness. And what you heard today were people working and thinking to achieve that greatness. not being okay, not being at the bottom of a list, not being at the middle of a list, but being at the top of a list. This nonprofit leadership forum is about how we achieve greatness in this state. Nobody can articulate it better than Kimber, and I have been on the receiving end of that criticism. Let me tell you, it is not pleasant. But we need, as leaders, to take on the challenges and to achieve greatness. So what did I hear today? I heard two important themes over and over in every presentation and in the conversations that I had. And those were innovation and opportunity. Innovation and opportunity. If you think back of everything you heard, that was present in every conversation. So when I think about innovation and opportunity, and I think about this as a leader, and we've had a year-long course in leadership in the 7 hours we've been here, what is our leadership opportunity? What is it? Where do we go from here? How do we take what we learned to achieve greatness? And I heard another theme, and it was echoed in almost everything. And now I'm a former teacher, and so I tend to be judgmental. And I evaluate because I think teaching is leading, and leading is teaching. Where did we do great on diversity and inclusion, which I think is the opportunity for greatness, and where did we not? And as leaders, as I heard today, innovation, opportunity, inclusion, how did we do? Well, in the videos and in the audience, I thought we did great. I thought this represented the nonprofit community as I know it in Arizona, and I think the speakers on the videos represented a sense of inclusion and diversity that is who we are. You heard what Lattie said about who we are. Where did we not do well? We had great people on the panels. We had one leader of color on that panel who, my dear friend, told you he was supposed to be playing golf today. That doesn't minimize him, but it says to us, if we're going to achieve greatness, the opportunity for our greatness is in our diversity. Lattie showed it. You have talked about it. So when we talk about leadership, next year our charge is, let's show all Arizonans, Latinos, Latinas, Asian, African American, Native American leaders doing great things in this state. That is who we are. So when we judge ourselves as leaders, and we have to ask ourselves, we have to confront our brutal facts. How do we get better? This conference is filled with opportunity. It's filled with innovation, and there is a spirit here of achieving greatness in Arizona. So it is our job to keep our eyes open, to understand what inclusion means. Because when you're not included, it is painful. It is harsh. It is disenfranchising. When you are included, your collective IQ rises, your depth of understanding of community is deeper, your creativity is much broader. So our challenge as Arizona that we can show the nation is how we lead with inclusion in our hearts and in our eyes and in our actions. Because we will show the world the kind of talent we have here and how it is taking us to greatness. So I will leave you with that challenge as we think about next year's forum. And I have been watching, as long as I can stay awake every night, this whole thing that Ken Burns has done on Teddy Roosevelt. And because I share, and Franklin Roosevelt, because my birthday and Teddy Roosevelt's birthday are the same day, and when I was a kid and I learned that, I felt really special. So he's always been special to me. And if you watched it, one of the driving forces in his life, which I now learned was filled with pathos, but he sure got a lot done, was something his father said. And I'm going to share that with you. And I'm going to add my own little editorial comment for our challenge. He said, get action. Seize the moment. Don't dwell on the inner darkness of yourself. Reach out, burst out, get action. And I'll add, act with inclusion. Get action. Thank you for being here.